Ever feel like you're just swimming in information, trying to find that one thing that really clicks for you? Or maybe you just want to get the core insights without, digging through everything yourself. Well, you're definitely in the right place. Our mission here is basically to take a whole stack of stuff, articles, notes, you name it, and pull out the real nuggets for you. And today, we're diving into a really fascinating personal story. It's about transformation, but sparked by influences you might not expect, often overlooked ones. Our main source is a Substack piece by Ranga Jagannath. It's called Time, Place, Events, and Sahavasa, A Runner's Journey.
Yeah, this is a great one. It goes beyond just his story, really. We're going to look at how our surroundings, our past, even things we didn't really engage with or maybe actively pushed away, how they can suddenly reappear and, well, change everything. We'll be unpacking a few key ideas he brings up. Muscle memory, this intriguing concept of sahavasa, which he uses for both, like close connection and the environment's subtle pull. And of course, the big ones, time and place, how critical they are.
Exactly. So beyond just following his journey, our mission here is to figure out how these seemingly separate bits from the past and present can come together, what hidden things are actually influencing us, and maybe most importantly, what can we take from this story for our own lives? Okay, let's get into it. So right at the start, there's this pretty surprising contradiction. The author, Ranga Jagannath, talks about his school, Sainik School, Bijapur, calls it one of the finest schools in India. He says it had everything, all the opportunity and resources for sports, for running. Sounds great, right? But then, and this is the kicker, he says, come sports day, he would find an excuse to report sick and escape any tough physical stuff.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, how do you avoid it in a place like that? But what's really interesting, even as he's talking about avoiding sports, he introduces this key idea.
Yeah.
Right there, he writes, let us mark this as a placeholder called sahavasa, close companionship. And while it translates as companionship, the way he uses it seems broader. It's like the vibe of the place, the influence of surroundings, the people, even if you're resisting it.
That's a really key point about Sahavasa, especially bringing it up while he's actively dodging the running track. But okay, while he was doing that at school, there was this other side to his childhood. He calls it a fairly hardy upbringing, part of a defense family, moving around India a lot. And he gives some great examples, like one place climbing down a hill to reach school and climbing back home every day, another time climbing trees for fruit, playing outside in really hot North Indian summers, unmindful of the searing impact of the sun. Pretty tough stuff, actually.
And this is exactly where that idea of muscle memory starts to connect. He reflects on it himself. Says something like, even though he did not put this initial physical upbringing to much use during school or college, that muscle memory must have remained and surfaced many, many years later. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How these basic physical experiences, even if you don't build on them for ages, they just sit there, waiting.
Yeah, dormant abilities, kind of lying in wait. So fast forward, adult life hits. He describes it as a fairly frenetic pace, the drill, usual trappings of work and family responsibility taking over. But, and he didn't realize it then, it was happening at the expense of health until, predictably maybe, he found myself staring at multiple health issues. Thankfully, early stage, he says. Gosh, that moment where health catches up with you, it really hits home for a lot of people, doesn't it? That wake-up call. And then comes the real turning point. Things got serious enough that he had to drive myself into an emergency one day, faced with a really stark choice, basically. Spend time and money on medications or spend time and effort on improving lifestyle. And, this is the moment. This is where all those threads we talked about start to come together in a big way.
Exactly. This is where the past crashes into the present. It's quite powerful how he describes it. He says, talk of muscle memory and sahavasa, close companionship, it all just flooded back. Childhood muscle memory of climbing down and up the hills and the subconscious impact of the physical activities that I saw and took part in sparingly at Sainik School descended upon me in torrents. So you see, those things from years ago, the climbing he did, the sports atmosphere he avoided, they suddenly converged right when he needed them, like a resource unlocking.
Wow.
Descended upon me in torrents. That's quite an image. And from that point, the change really started. He says he was slowly but surely finding my way into different physical activities, and the thing that really stuck, what got me hooked, was running. Quite a turnaround from the kid faking sick notes. And it clearly did stick. It wasn't just a phase. Look at the progression he describes. One 5K after another, one 10K after another, one half marathon after another. And now, he says, he's standing at the cusp of a full marathon. That really shows the sustained impact, right? how tapping into those past influences fueled this lasting commitment, real growth.
It's incredibly inspiring, that kind of follow-through. And he looks back on it all wondering, as he puts it, at the huge impact that time, place, and sahavasa have had on events in our lives. But he's not just looking back. He wants to actively harness each of these to our advantage going forward.
And we shouldn't forget that little postscript he adds. It's brief but important. He mentions his wonderfully supportive family and points out that the before and after photo in the article, it bears testimony to the journey we have undertaken together, which adds that crucial layer. Change often happens with support.
That's a great point. So, okay, let's pull this together. What does it all mean for us? Well, this deep dive really shines a light on the surprising power of muscle memory. Things from way back, maybe things we didn't even value then. And this idea of sahavasa is not just friends, but the whole environment, its subtle push, even if we resist it, how that can be a catalyst. And of course, how time and place aren't just background. They actively shape things, creating these pivotal moments.
Right. And it makes you ask yourself, doesn't it? What about your own past? What bits of muscle memory? What moments or environments that sahavasa might be lying dormant inside you? Experiences maybe you haven't thought about in years, but could actually resurface and guide you, especially when you hit one of life's crossroads. What resources are already there?
Exactly. Think about it. If muscle memory from climbing hills and just being around sports could eventually turn someone who avoided running into a marathoner, what hidden strengths, what environmental nudges might be waiting for you to tap into? What could you harness for your own journey? Something to definitely mull over. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.